Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the instant match reaction, Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0 at Selhurst Park yesterday afternoon. A truly woeful game of football, not just because of Everton's performance and the lack of goals and the lack of a 3 points, but generally just one of the most boring games of football I've watched in a long time. Very little happened in the first half, and when I say very little, I mean very little. A couple of shots for each team, but nothing really worth shouting or screaming about. And very little happened in the second half as well, to be perfectly honest with you. And yeah, okay, there was a sending off, which, I think we all saw coming at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon when the team news was released, because we saw Mason Holgate was in there. And whenever Mason Holgate's in the team and in the team for the first time in a long time, he pretty much guaranteed to get a yellow card. And when he got a yellow card in the first half, you knew he was pretty much guaranteed to get another one in the second half. But other than the sending off, again, couple of chances for both sides, couple of heart in your mouth moments defensively for Everton, and the odd occasional shot that Crystal Palace had to deal with. But other than that, a truly woeful 90 minutes of football, and one that we certainly won't get back, and one that personally I see very little positives in. Now, I don't want to come on here and just be a negative Nancy and just come on here and try and ruin everybody's mood and try and bring the mood down. And I always want to look for the positives, and I always try and look for the positives in Everton results, even when the result isn't particularly favourable. I still try and take the positive aspects from that, and I think there are a couple of positives you can take from yesterday, one of them being Dominic Calvert-Lewin being back in the side and getting 90 minutes under his belt and working hard and battling, and I felt he had a relatively decent game. Okay, he didn't score and obviously didn't have many chances, but he had a couple of half chances on the turn that he looked sharp with, he looked ready with. I thought he looked okay, but other than that, I really don't see many positives from this performance and from this result. And I'm seeing a lot of people on social media talking about it being a good point, and a good point away from home. And when you compare it to last season's result at Selhurst Park in the 2 games that we played there, it's a great result given the improvement from last season. I just don't see any of that whatsoever. I don't think this was a good point whatsoever yesterday, and I don't know whether that's because of the mindset that I'm currently in with Everton Football Club. I don't know whether that's because of the fact that we're on the 23rd of April and the games are, slowly but surely coming towards an end, and Everton still aren't winning games of football. I don't really know why, but I honestly don't think there's such thing as a good point anymore. I think if Everton to get a point on Thursday against Newcastle, I don't think it's a good point, because we're playing Newcastle, who are a team that obviously have had a much better season than us and are in a much better position than us. It's not a good point on Thursday. We've got to win that game of football. The simple, fact of the matter is that we are in a relegation battle, and teams around us in this relegation battle are winning games of football and are starting to pull themselves away from this relegation battle. 4 or 5 weeks ago, there were 9 teams that could have potentially gone down. I think there was something like 6 points separating 9 teams. Now, there's almost 10 points separating the team in 12th to the team in 18th. So it's gone from 6 to 10 in such a short period of time. Teams like Crystal Palace, who, some people still wouldn't have said we're in that relegation battle 5 or 6 weeks ago, but statistically, based on the points that they had on the board, they were in that battle. They're now away from that, and I think Crystal Palace will be absolutely fine. Teams like Wolves, pretty much away from it. Even Bournemouth, it was sitting on 33 points, which is 5 points more than Everton, who currently sit 18th in the relegation battle. 5 points is massive, considering there's, only 6 games to go. Bournemouth have got 7 games to go because they've got a game in hand. Obviously, there's fixtures today. So, when other teams are winning games of football, West Ham, and picking up points, in fixtures that Everton aren't picking up points in, and they're starting to move away from us, there's no such thing as a good point. Southampton picked up a point on Friday night at Arsenal. And okay, they still are on 24, and I still think will go down quite comfortably, but they picked up a point. Nottingham Forest were unlucky to not pick up a point at Anfield yesterday. They fought back a couple of times and they hit the bar in the last 5 minutes and could have equalised quite comfortably. Leicester City won yesterday. Leeds United narrowly lost. There's no such thing at this time of the year as a good point away from home at Crystal Palace. There isn't. And I'm sorry if that's negative, and I'm sorry if people don't want to look at it like that, and I'm sorry if people say, no, it is a good point because we're away from home and it's a tough place to go, this, that and the other. The way that game panned out, it was there for the taking. It was there for the taking. Palace weren't particularly great. They didn't offer an awful lot. Defensively, they were solid, of course, and they had a couple of half chances going forward that could have, troubled Everton if not for a little bit of good defending. But the game was there for the taking. And the reason Everton didn't take it and didn't go and get the 3 points, a couple of reasons. One is our forward players are absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And I put a little tweet out yesterday, a little tongue-in-cheek tweet that people took extremely seriously when the Wrexham game had finished, saying that Paul Mullen would walk into Everton's team. And obviously, a lot of Evertonians decided to come to the defensive players like Neil Maupay and Tom Cannon and Ellis Sims, who, for a weird reason really, the fans haven't been quick to defend all season, but as soon as somebody else is mentioned, they're quick to defend them. And as I said, the tweet was tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, the gap between the National League and the Premier League is absolutely humongous, but my point is that we don't have anybody capable of scoring the 2 goals that Paul Mullen scored yesterday, regardless of the level. Neil Maupay does not score Paul Mullen's first goal yesterday in a Sunday League game, or a National League game, or a Premier League game. I don't care if he scored 20 goals in the Championship 15 years ago. I'm not asked. We don't have anybody that is capable of producing something like that. And that isn't a massive compliment to Paul Mullen, even though I think Paul Mullen deserves massive compliments, and so does everybody at Wrexham. It's more a reflection on how bad the situation is at Everton Football Club. Damari Gray, useless. Absolutely useless. Doesn't even work hard and offers nothing. Dwight McNeil works hard, but for the most part, useless. Doesn't offer anything. Alex Iwobi as a forward player, useless. Doesn't offer anything. Neil Maupay, useless. Doesn't offer anything. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, only just coming back to fitness. So it's harsh to criticise Dom. But everybody else around them, every other forward player at this football club at the moment, is uncontrollably below par for what we need them to be if we've got any hope of staying in this division. And I watched that yesterday, and I honestly, not one part of me at any point thought, this is a good point, this is a decent point. All I was thinking was, we're down, we're gone. Because I will say it again, I don't care if it sounds negative, I don't care if people disagree with me, there is no such thing as a good point when the teams around you are picking up points and you are in the final week of April. The season finishes next month. We've still got to play Manchester City, Newcastle, we've still got to play Leicester, we've still got to play Wolves away from home. Yesterday wasn't a good point. It wasn't a good point at all. I don't care what anybody says, it wasn't a good point. And I will not sit here between now and the end of the season and be anything other than disappointed if Everton haven't won a game of football. And if you don't like that, if you think that's negative, if you think that's counterproductive, then so what? It is what it is. What it be, whatever. But I refuse to sit here and watch Everton not win a game of football and be anything other than shit scared at that matter of fact. Especially when other teams around us are winning games of football and other teams around us are breaking away. As I said, 5-6 weeks ago, Crystal Palace were in this, Bournemouth were in this, Wolves were in this. Those 3 teams look like they're away from it now. Certainly Crystal Palace are away from it now. And as the weeks go on, more and more teams will move away from this relegation battle. It won't be between 9 teams on the last day of the season. It will be between 4 or 5 again, like it was last season. And Everton will be one of those 4 or 5. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Everton will be one of those 4 or 5. And I ask you this, people watching on YouTube, people watching live, I ask you this. Where does our next 3 points come from? Because it's easy saying Thursday night against Newcastle we'll beat them. And we may well beat them. We may well win because it's a game that, we're probably not expected to win. And in terms of the difference in quality of the two teams, it would be, a little bit against the grain if we did win. And same with the City game, a game that most people look at and go, we'll get battered. We might end up winning that game because that's what Everton do. They win games that you don't expect them to win and they lose games that you expect them to get something out of. But generally, realistically, does anybody watching this look at any of our next 6 games and think, yeah, I know that we'll go out and we'll win that? Because I did that. I did with Fulham last week. I sat there and looked at that fixture list after Man United and I said, I know we'll be Fulham at home. Because, as I said, after the Fulham game, there's not a universe that I can accept Fulham beating Everton at Goodison in that game. And they did. So, no, a point isn't a good point away from home at Crystal Palace on the 22nd of April when Leicester have won. When Bournemouth, the Bournemouth play today, I think Bournemouth might play today. Forest were unlucky, let's be honest. Forest were unlucky. Bournemouth play West Ham today, so that's another game between two sides in and around the relegation battle. Somebody will drop points in that, but somebody will pick up points in that game. As I said, it might be negative, it might be a bit of pessimism, whatever you might want to call it. I just didn't look at that yesterday and think this is a decent point. I thought it was a woeful game of football. I thought it was a game of football that was there for the taking, but for 2 reasons. One of them being our forward players are just atrocious, and it comes to something when even, the centre-halves are calling out the forward players for not being good enough. James Tarkowski's coming out and saying we need more from them. That, for me, is worrying. Because if James Tarkowski knew deep down in his heart that those players I've just mentioned, Damari Gray, Dwight McNeil, Alex Iwobi, etc., Neil Maupay, were just utterly shite, then he wouldn't be coming out and saying we need more from them. Because he'd look at them and he'd go, do you know what? They are fucking atrocious. We're not going to get any more from them, so I may as well not mention it. The fact that he's coming out and saying we need more from them, for me, suggests that they've got more to give. They're just not giving. Through whether it be a lack of confidence or more worryingly, they can't be arsed. People like Damari Gray can't be arsed running around the extra mile. Can't be arsed giving a little bit extra. Can't be arsed putting the battle in on a wet, windy afternoon. Can't be bothered doing it. James Tarkowski would not be coming out saying we need more from our forward players if he genuinely believed that they were as bad as we all think they are and they're just incapable of doing it. That suggests that they are capable, they're just not giving it. Now that might be to give them a confidence boost. It may well be. Or it might be him coming out and saying, I know they're not giving everything and they need to give everything. And that is a really concerning situation to be in. The other reason we couldn't go and win that game yesterday is because Mason Holgate is an utter clown. It's as simple as that. Why on a yellow card you would make that second challenge is beyond me. For the last 15 minutes of the game, we were pinned back. We knew we weren't going to go and win it. The best we could have hoped for at that point was a point. And it was a game that we could have gone out and won. We could have gone out and ultimately... Oh, hang on. We could have gone out and ultimately, in the last 10 minutes, 4-4 it with 11 men on the pitch and maybe nicked the goal. But as soon as we went down to 10 men, you knew full well that, that wasn't happening. Yeah. It's just, it's not good enough. And I said this after Man United when people said, well, what should you expect? We've lost at Old Trafford. We always lose at Old Trafford, this, that and the other. Yeah, if we'd have lost at Old Trafford in the manner we did a couple of weeks ago in August or in September, I'd go, do you know what? It's not even that big. We've lost at Old Trafford. We do every year and move on from it. But we didn't. We lost at Old Trafford in April. If we'd have gotten a point at Selhurst Park in September or October or whatever, then I'd have gone, yeah, it's not too bad. It's a decent point away from home. But we've not. We've gotten a point at Selhurst Park at the end of April when the teams around us are winning games of football. The manager has to take responsibility for that. For firstly, not making any forward changes in the second half. Secondly, keeping Mason Holgate on a yellow card when I'd have put my house on Mason Holgate getting sent off in that game, and he did. The players take responsibility for clearly not giving enough, not bringing enough. The board take responsibility for being the entire reason we're in this position in the first place. But a point at Selhurst Park yesterday isn't good enough. It's as simple as that. It is not good enough. We move on. Thursday night, we've got to win. It's as simple as that. Thursday night, we have to win. And if we don't, then I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. I really don't know where we go from here. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed it, please hit the like button. It does only take a second. We will be back with the player ratings a little bit later on, so don't forget to look out for them. If you watched live, massive thank you to everybody for watching. If you watched this YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. And yeah, maybe I'm just negative, but I'm really not happy with that yesterday. It's as simple as that. Big thanks for watching. See you later.